Hey, you're here with Dr. Jodi, and this is season 3 of Anxiety, I'm So Done With You. This podcast is a teen and a young adult guide to ditching toxic stress and hardwiring your brain for happiness. If you're new here, grab a copy of my book, Anxiety, I'm So Done With You, because this series goes section by section through the book, going a little bit deeper, giving more examples, and telling more stories. Season 3, which goes along with Chapter 3, is expanding hope by looking at your skills and abilities. You are amazing. You have many skills and abilities. However, anxiety does not want you to know that, and it tries to block your view of them. But not anymore. In this season, we're going to bring them out into the open, giving you more access to them when you need them the most. And as this season progresses, you're going to envision yourself in a new way. As a person who is able, caring, confident, and determined. Thank you so much for listening, subscribing, and leaving me 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Mental health problems are skyrocketing, especially among young people, and this series will help them cease judging, stop questioning, and start healing. Hey, how you doing? Welcome to Chapter 3, Section 5, Activate Confidence. In this episode, we're going to talk about social anxiety, and we're going to uncover what is different about it than other anxieties. We'll talk about being an empath or a highly sensitive person, and I'll share how your sensitivity affects social situations. We'll also review what confidence is and how to build it in yourself. And then we'll go over the 11 suggestions that I list in this section on how to feel more comfortable in social situations. Let's go. All right, social anxiety. What is social anxiety? Social anxiety is caused by social situations. So people get irritable or overwhelmed when they're in a situation where there is groups of people. It is a growing trend that people are more and more affected by social contexts, making this a really unique category of anxiety because people with it are not necessarily afraid of danger like most other anxieties. There's a lot going on here, so there's a lot to understanding why this is rising. One of the reasons is that people are becoming more sensitive in general. As our awareness and consciousness expands, that awareness is tapping into the energy of the field around us. We feel other people's energy and the energy imprint of the spaces that we're in. A friend of mine once told me a story about when she was traveling. She told me that she was sitting in a cafe one day, and all of a sudden she was overwhelmed emotionally. Nothing was wrong in her life. She was happily traveling. Things were going well. But in this moment, she cried and cried and cried, and she couldn't stop. She was so overwhelmed with sadness and doom. They had to leave. Her friends had to take her out of there and go back to the hotel. Later, they had discovered that there had been a brutal battle in that very location with a shocking betrayal during World War I. I also know a woman who is so sensitive that she is out for days after attending a funeral. Even if she didn't know the person very well, she cries and cries and cries and feels overwhelmed. This level of sensitivity is real and it is growing. With the publication of the book, The Highly Sensitive Person by Elaine Aron, many people who have been feeling sensitive for years have finally been able to understand what is wrong with them. If you've grown up sensitive, you know exactly what I mean. It feels awful. You assume that the negative emotions that you feel are coming from you, but you don't know that most of it is actually coming from the people around you. When you think it's you, you try to figure out why you feel this bad, but you can't because there's no answer to that. It's not about you. And so you have to guess why you feel that bad. And the guesses end up being something like, I must just be a depressed person. I just have depression. I'm different. Something's wrong with me. I just can't be happy. Sensitive people know that crowds make them feel worse, and so they often choose to stay home and not go out. If they had their small group of good people at home and felt a sense of belonging, that would be okay. But All too often, staying away from people and crowds makes sensitive people isolate in effort to protect themselves. And hopefully you all now know how isolation affects a person. It's not good. I'm happy to say that there is some good news here. People who are sensitive can learn how to tell the difference between what is theirs and what is not theirs, and they can learn how to get rid of what is not theirs. Plus, they could gain skills on how to block things coming in the first place. I cover all of this in my Energy Shield training video for empaths. I go over how you know you have a choice and how to block it out. I, again, have that for you in the blog post that goes along with this episode. In my groups and classes, I teach people how to block negative energy and show them where to get support to protect themselves. Not in the way anxiety says it's protecting you, but real sustainable protection, which instead of limiting you, it allows you more options and opportunities. I also show people how to transform their clairsentience to claircognizance. Clairsentience is another word for empath. It means you feel feelings that are not yours. Claircognizance is a clear knowing. It means knowing something that you wouldn't know from ordinary means. Claircognizance gives you the information from the energy. Having the information come to you through claircognizance instead of clairsentience gives you the information without you being bowled over with the feeling of it. And from there, instead of struggling to right yourself and recover, you can decide if there's some action you want to take to help the situation. Sometimes you get information from someone and there's nothing for you to do. And sometimes, for example, if it's a friend, you could check on them, which you now have the bandwidth to do since you're not being benched by those feelings of overwhelm. Maybe someday in the next couple months, I'm going to do a podcast on that, how to change your clairsentience to claircognizance. But for now, you could grab my online course about it. I'll link to it in the blog post. Or at least, I hope, just knowing that it's possible for you to learn will help you. Because when you're sensitive, knowing that you have options gives you hope for an easier life. Okay, back to social anxiety. Another reason why social anxiety is on the rise is that comparison culture is on the rise. With the huge use of social media, our cultural expectations to be good enough, smart enough, cool enough, skinny enough, blah, 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 these are in our face more and more, and our feelings of inadequacy are in our face more and more. We isolate ourselves, and then we're more sensitive when people are mean and negative. Everyone around you is under so much pressure that they are being more negative. There are two adages here that I repeat to myself over and over to remind myself that it is not me, and I offer them to you in case they'll help you too. The first is, hurt people hurt people. So people who are hurt other people. And the second one is, people aren't mean because they don't like you. They are mean because they don't like themselves. However, when you've been hurt a lot, you tend to think that you are the most common denominator. I get hurt a lot. Maybe it's me that attracts it to me. For sure, when a lot of people hurt you, you feel the unworthiness thick and heavy in your body and mind. I understand why you feel that way and why you think it's you, because I've felt that way so many times in my life. But then client after client expressed feeling that way too, and I started to think, we can't all be causing this. And then I realized that a lot of people hurt you because most people don't like themselves. Let me say that saying again. People aren't mean to you because they don't like you. They are mean to you because they don't like themselves. Anyhow, back to social anxiety. Whatever the cause is of your social anxiety, you need to build confidence and strength in yourself to overcome it. This doesn't mean that you need to go out all the time or that you should go out all the time. It means that you have the freedom to choose what you want to do without the social anxiety influencing it at all. Okay, what is confidence? Sometimes confidence has a negative connotation. You might think of it as someone with a big head. And if you think about it like that, you might not want to get it at all. I think that negative connotation of confidence comes from anxiety and self-doubt trying to use anything it can to make you feel bad about yourself. Having a big head is overconfidence, and overconfidence is usually an overcompensation for not feeling too confident at all. When you don't think you're great, you have to constantly prove it, and this can keep a person really self-focused. Real confidence is a good thing. Confidence means that you believe in yourself, that you believe that you're a good person, or you believe that you have skills, or you believe that you could figure things out. When you have robust self-confidence, you're calmer, more comfortable, and more grounded. To other people, that comes across as humble, not stuck up. Humble doesn't mean that you have a low opinion of yourself. It means you have an accurate one. And also, being humble means that you could be others focused because you're not as obsessed with trying to prove that you're great. In the book section that we're talking about in this episode, I make 11 suggestions on how to feel more comfortable in social situations. The first one is to hone your skills in noticing. I know I spoke about this in a different episode, but your noticing skills come in handy here. Another reason for comparison culture causing social anxiety is because it makes you think that everyone is looking at you and judging you. But if you went to a public place and watched people for a few minutes, just by watching their faces, you will notice that they are not looking at you and they are not thinking of you. They are in their heads with their own worries, and realizing this could be incredibly freeing. This goes along with the second and third suggestions. The second is understanding that people are just as afraid as you are, or worse. And the third is realizing that people are in their own heads. Think about it this way: a huge portion of the crowd is struggling too. They are worried about things. They are worried about other people. They are worried about people looking at them. And some of the people that you see maybe have more anxiety than you do. Plus, there are so many other people around to look at. Everybody is not focusing on you and your particular inadequacies. And remember, if there is someone that judges you, it's a testimony of their own feelings of fear of their own inadequacies. It's rarely ever about you. People judge because they're worried about themselves. People aren't mean because they don't like you. They're mean because they don't like themselves. Number 4 is don't expect perfection. Perfection does not exist, yet we keep trying to achieve it. Let's let that go. Perfection is the most energy-consuming waste of time that negatively affects your mental health that there is. Get off that hamster wheel of trying to be perfect because you'll never get anywhere. You're on a hamster wheel. And think about the concept of diminishing returns. Diminishing returns, for example, is someone studies 3 hours for a test and gets 95%. But if they were to study 3 more hours, they'd only get a 97%. That means those 3 extra hours are only earning them an extra 2%. So the first 3 hours gets 95%, and the second 3 hours only gets 2 more percent. You have diminishing returns on the amount of effort you put in. That is how perfection works. There's diminishing returns on your effort, so it is exhausting. You're putting a lot of energy in, high risk, and receiving low rewards for that energy and effort and risk. The 5th suggestion is find an anchor. This means plan ahead with a friend so you have someone to text while you're at an event, somebody who knows how you feel and knows you're really anxious about it. Then you have this anchor on the other side of your phone to send you sweet affirmations and how great and courageous you are. And also to serve as a witness to the efforts, which will really help you feel good and help you sustain the energy you need to get through that event. Number 6 is focus on others. A great way to transform social anxiety is to have a social mission. Make a goal that helps someone. Decide, I'm going to compliment 3 people tonight, Or, I will talk to 2 people there who look lonely. Sometimes our anxiety wants us to think that we can't put anything else on our plates because we need to take all of our concentration to put down the anxiety. But that actually does the opposite because it gives your attention to the anxiety. A social mission gives something for your problem-solving brain to do, and it takes up your brain space so your anxiety doesn't have any. Plus, the conversations and camaraderie that these conversations will have will help you feel connected. They'll make you feel like you matter and also help you let other people know that they matter. There's so many good things about having a social mission. Number 7 is have an exit strategy. Having this allows you to go. When you have social anxiety, you picture the event and the feeling of trapped with that anxiety is enough to make you want to stay home. You need to outwit anxiety and the lie of the trapped feeling by reminding yourself that you can leave if you want to, and make a plan how you're going to leave. Keep in mind, though, anxiety is sneaky about exit plans. It makes you think that you fail if you use them. But that's what they're for. As long as you decide to go and go, even for a moment before leaving, that is success. Anxiety did not win. Anxiety doesn't win if you use the exit plan. You win because you made a plan and it worked. So next time, you'll know that your exit plan will work and you'll be able to go again. If you're not allowing yourself to use the exit strategy, then you don't really have an exit strategy. Suggestions 8 and 9 are to celebrate your wins. Remember to celebrate the steps you took separately than celebrating the results that happen. I've heard too many times someone going outside their comfort zone to do something, which is huge and courageous and amazing, and then have someone who they pledged their love to, for example, not reciprocate, and they see the whole thing as a failure. They still did the amazing, courageous thing. That's what needs to be celebrated. So attempting to go, trying something new, any small step outside your comfort zone ought to be celebrated. Even if it's just you acknowledging it to yourself. That's all I want. You thinking in your head that you are all that for doing what you're doing. I tell you, celebrating your wins makes a huge difference. Okay, after all of that, going outside your comfort zone and doing all the things and going to the events, number 10 is to schedule some downtime to recalibrate and recover. Especially if you're not used to being out and about with people, ease into it slowly and make sure you have recovery time. We'll go over downtime and me time and the self-care practices in Chapter 5, but for now, know that me time is part of the plan. And finally, number 11 is hone your intuition. You already know that you have resources in the blog post for blocking energy when you're sensitive and transforming clairsentience to claircognizance. The link is in the show notes. What did I forget? I'm sure all of you have some great tips on what else you could do to make yourself more comfortable in social situations. I want to hear your ideas and I want to know what I have missing from this list. Come on over to the blog post that goes with this episode and leave me a comment with your ideas. Or visit me at TikTok at Dr. Jodi and leave me a comment there. I'm so touched that you spent this time with me today. I hope you got so much out of this episode. We looked at social anxiety, being empathic, and being sensitive in social situations. We reviewed self-confidence and went over the 11 suggestions on how to feel more comfortable in social situations. Big, giant hugs to you for listening and commenting and leaving me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Remember, if I've helped you at all, share this book and this podcast series because you never know who is struggling around you and you may make a big difference in their lives. This whole episode has been a really great segue to the next episode where we'll go into Chapter 3, Section 6, Activate Courage. Read that section or listen to it, and I will meet you there.